conditioned to engage in the battle of the sexes. However, in this current era, we are breaking free from this paradigm. With the rise and visibility of transgender individuals, it may seem like we're amidst mass confusion, yet if we attune ourselves to the cosmic messages, a clearer narrative emerges. The truth is, both genders carry deep wounds that have long been suppressed, now bubbling to the surface for all to witness. As the collective consciousness rises from a conditioned focus on surface level dynamics, this shift may appear chaotic, to say the least. In this video, we'll delve into our collective psyche to grasp the healing underway and the esoteric significance driving it all. If you're a curious soul and courageous enough to lead the path to healing, together, let's journey into this topic and illuminate the path to enlightenment for all. Welcome to Stella Sage, the channel for holistic healing and personal development inspired by the cosmos. I'm Brie, the founder of the occult beauty boutique Stella Sage, where you can get your very own lightweight camo hoodie with an embroidered message that I wish the whole world could hear. As God knows, we could all use more peace in our lives. And it's quite fitting for today's topic as well. And if you listen till the end, you'll see just how much so. But before we get started, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And when you're done watching, I would love for you to share what you think about all of this. Now is the divine time to talk about this topic. Do you know why? Well, this week, both Mars and Venus, the iconic planets known to symbolize masculine and feminine energy, have both entered into their home rulership signs of Aries and Taurus. See, these planetary movements aren't just about external events taking place far out in space somewhere. They're invitations for internal transformation. And whether or not you realize it, nothing in life can come into manifestation without both these energies working in tandem. The entire month of May, these two planets will feel at home and quite comfortable to express themselves naturally. So we too could find ourselves at greater ease just living in flow when we allow ourselves to tap into these cosmic currents. But to do so, we'll be asked to heal and balance the divine masculine and feminine energies within ourselves. When we live in harmony with the law of gender, it catalyzes profound spiritual healing that neutralizes karmic burdens and oppressive patterns, allowing us to be unified and live in an empowered state with the external forces of the world. By the end of this video, you'll too understand why the rise in transgender visibility and its significance. Let's first explore gender through an astrological lens, examine its historical integration into society, dissect reactive patterns and psychology, and unveil esoteric principles at play. And at the end, we'll discuss this cosmic tale being told and how you can tap into this celestial synastry for your own personal growth and spiritual ascension. So get comfortable because we're about to air out some dirty laundry and embark on a deep journey into self-discovery and personal empowerment. As the fourth planet from the sun in our solar system, Mars has long captured the human imagination with its fiery red appearance and its symbolic representation of strength, courage, and action. The divine masculine, as represented by Mars, embodies qualities such as assertiveness, vitality, passion, and the pursuit of goals. Mars energy is dynamic, forward-moving, and often associated with leadership and courage in facing challenges. It is the archetype of the warrior, the protector, and the initiator. The divine masculine is the standard for healthy boundaries, conscious action, focus, logic, support, structure, self-defense, and objectivity. Venus, on the other hand, holds a central place in spiritual and mythological traditions as a symbol of the divine feminine. As the second planet from the sun, Venus is known for its radiant appearance in the sky. This celestial body, named after the Roman goddess of love and beauty, embodies qualities such as nurturing, compassion, empathy, harmony, sensuality, and creativity. Additionally, the divine feminine archetype encompasses qualities such as intuition, magnetism, appreciation, emotional intelligence, receptivity to the natural cycles of life, and the ebb and flow of creative inspiration and artistic expression. Known as the planet of love, Venus governs romantic inclinations and social interactions, encompassing her supportive nature and focus on fostering connections of all kinds. Venus represents the principle of attraction through her ability to draw people together in relationships, as well as embodying our aesthetic preferences in relation to creativity, pleasure, and luxury. But here's the catch. True divinity arises when these energies are balanced within us. Too much of one, and we risk imbalance. Too little of the other, and our essence feels incomplete. Despite what we've been guided to believe, every male has components of female energy within his physical and energetic bodies. And every female has components of male energy in all of hers. Regardless of the scale within creation, whether it be a microscopic realm of subatomic particles or the vastness of galaxies and beyond, everything emerges from the principle of law of gender. Because these energies leave off where the other begins, they are more than just complementary forces. They are a continuum of the whole being. At its essence, feminine energy embodies the formless potential of creation, while masculine energy manifests as focused, linear action, pixelating potential into reality. Hence, why the word manifest begins with the word man. The infinite cycle continues as feminine energy nurtures, sustains, and ultimately destroys its creations. When these energies are in harmony, we experience a sense of wholeness and alignment with the universe, reflecting a natural state of evolution. With that said, the problem becomes blatantly obvious when we realize how society has taught us to believe that one was more powerful and productive than the other. Clearly, that's not true, and despite how these themes have been framed and enforced throughout history, it's clear we've known on some deep level all along how both polarities are absolutely essential to sustain life. Hence, the misinterpreted need for gender roles. As someone with a naturally well-balanced astrological makeup of both masculine and female energy, I find it's easier for me to perceive both the advantages and the drawbacks of having a dedicated system like gender roles. While I don't inherently condemn them, acknowledging their role in providing structure for balancing energies, but it's important to recognize their evolution has not kept pace with our consciousness. Initially rooted in the simplicity of physicality, nonetheless, gender roles reflected archetypal energies. Men embodying leadership and protection complemented women who naturally embraced nurturing and emotional intelligence. Yet, as our understanding deepened, these roles became restrictive. Basically, it worked until it didn't. But then again, did it ever? Hear me out and decide for yourself. Cultural conditioning based on biological sex has established the gender norms and has attempted to control behavior for centuries. Boys are often taught to be stoic, assertive, and competitive, while girls are encouraged to be nurturing, passive, and focused on appearance. This reinforcement of stereotypes stifles authentic expression and limits personal growth. Moreover, it perpetuates inequality in education, employment, and politics, limiting individuals' potential and fostering biases. Although it's clear women have been more affected by these parameters, it's evident that both genders have been negatively impacted, without a question. Additionally, this conditioning fuels harmful attitudes like sexism, misogyny, and homophobia, fostering hostile environments for those who do not conform to traditional gender norms. This has had serious consequences at both the individual and collective level, in terms of mental health and well-being. It has led to feelings of alienation, shame, and self-doubt to run rampant. The damage caused by rigid gender roles is evident. Yet, it's essential to recognize that these roles stemmed from a time when humanity understood little about nuance. Both genders have been affected, leading to a cycle of trauma and reaction. So it's critical that we understand the wounds underlying these behaviors to foster empathy, healing, and clarity. Although men establish the system, it's not actually reasonable to blame them for their overdominance, as this again was only a natural expression of masculine energy, exacerbated by their deeply wounded psyche, resulting from filling their role as a warrior, having an inclination for self-defense, and the natural human response and coping mechanism to emotionally disassociate from the trauma of war, let alone already starting at a conditioned lower baseline capacity for compassion, empathy, and emotional intelligence. And as frustrating as it might be to want to hold them accountable and punish them for their abuse of power, unfortunately, the fact is, most of their behavior was not done with malicious intent, but rather blind logic and subconscious denial. And due to the sheer number of traumatized men, the problem was systemic before it had even had a chance to be recognized as faulty. Now just imagine the pain they were in. Then further piled on top of them, the guilt they felt when their consciousness did begin to recognize how damaging their behavior was. And the reality that their system was failing not just them, but their women as well. Then add to that the immense pressure coming from their fellow wounded peers to deny the truth of the situation for being in a state too weak to do better, projecting the facade of leadership and strength by shaming and condemning others to enable the status quo and preserve the illusion they weren't ready to face. But even worse, the men that were actually the strong ones, and despite it all, found a way to stay in touch with their divine energy, were then shamed by women who too became brainwashed by the status quo and believed men were weak if they showed any emotion, despite that being what they wanted all along. It's really sad when you actually think about all of the layers of truth beneath the expression. But despite the natural empathy of women, they too were deeply damaged in the process. Regardless of their desperate attempts to help heal the wounded hearts and psyches of men, and reestablish and create emotional connection, they too fell victim to trauma, which then subconsciously triggered them to recoil all attempts in the sake of their safety, living out centuries in a generationally passed down trauma response called fawn, an automatic response triggered by a perpetually stressed nervous system, where we learn to adapt to an unsafe environment by pleasing our abuser. We fawn over them in an attempt to be spared. We defend the abusers, navigating the hostility until we've grown resentful. Or worse, we don't even recognize the pathology anymore. And that is what's happened. Centuries of generations with learned behavior induced by trauma and fear. No matter how you look at it, every layer is so fucked up and tragic, really. But see, although so much of this dynamic has been brought to light, the damage and abuse is still playing out. Women are angry, and their rage against men has turned us into the perpetrators. And the same shame tactics are being used, now on women against women. Feminists won't want to admit it, but the blood's on their hands now. And whether or not, rightly so, it's no doubt damaging for men and women alike. Their pain has turned them into the perpetrator. And yes, we can have empathy for why, but that doesn't make it right. Emotion aside, when you take a step back and observe the standards women are setting for men, it's leaving men without a solution to work with. The criteria being proposed is contradictory. It's a lose-lose for all. What's worse is that their anger is misdirected. It's not really the men's fault. It's the system's fault. And the only way to fix the system is to take personal accountability. Become an empowered and sovereign individual that makes the system non-applicable. Simply no longer relevant to fight about. But fighting for men to be held accountable is ultimately only causing more suffering through your own attempt to delegate personal responsibility and free will. Which, isn't that what we're fighting over wanting to have anyway? It's not logical. It's fully emotional. But again, it's all completely natural. Not only because feminine energy is abundantly emotional, but also because anger is truly the antidote required to recognize there's a problem and begin the process of healing. But that's only true if the emotions are expressed from a state of full awareness and personal accountability. Otherwise, we're acting out a subconscious reaction and only reverberating the damage that's already been done, to then continue repeating the cycle until consciousness rises enough to finally recognize the pattern. Now, despite the trend seeming to look like we're on the course to repeat this lesson, I don't believe that to be the case. Why is that? Well, the collective consciousness has drastically risen with the benefits of the internet creating more opportunities to hear enlightening perspectives that otherwise would remain hidden from our awareness. But also, the energy of the planet and the collective has shifted into a predominantly feminine frequency, meaning more of us are in touch with our compassion and empathy. And we'll feel the side effects of our collective patterns of behavior and thinking reverberating back to us more quickly as feedback for what's not working. We're now so much more tapped into our emotional intelligence and intuition, which is guiding us in making better choices that nurture a healthy sense of self-care. But right now, we're just in the messy and confusing in-between phase, which is overwhelming to our nervous systems. But in a good way, because this time, it's by choice. It's a process. But I have no doubt that we'll get there sooner than later. And the more that you practice meditation and energetic healing techniques, the better that your nervous system can cope and heal. But that brings me back to the transgender topic. Now, with all of this in perspective, we can see why more and more people are unsure where they fall on the gender spectrum. Because not only do we now have the level of consciousness that makes us aware of our dual nature, consistent across biological conditions, but this truth, fueled with the highly emotional, socially conditioned opinions of which gender is better or worse, feeds into an inner turmoil of confusion as to who the fuck they actually want to be. Then there are the people that resonate with this community in a more subconscious way, guided by their spite for the system itself and not necessarily because they feel passionate about their gender preferences. Again, all of this comes down to consciousness and whether choices are made from a state of objective awareness or emotional reaction. This is why it is so critical for each of us as individuals to heal and balance both genders internally so that we neutralize the polarities and create peace within ourselves and our relationships. But before I tell you why the month of May is so powerfully aligned to help us do just that, I want to further touch on the spiritual significance of it all. With an esoteric understanding, grasping the law of gender transcends mere physical classifications and biological constraints. It involves recognizing that at its core, the gender principle embodies unity consciousness. This unity consciousness is deeply intertwined with the cosmic sovereign law of God, also known as the law of one. Embracing unity consciousness constitutes the initial step in adhering to this law and neutralizing the collective patterns that are holding us back from evolving. To begin to unify the masculine and feminine within, we must understand that whether a man or a woman, we hold both gender principles, as well as the positive and negative poles inside our body and consciousness. The gender principle is intrinsic in every form of existence. It's impossible for creation to take place without this universal law in action at some level. Even when the gender principles have been replicated, reversed, or manipulated through artificial technology. Whether organic or inorganic, the law of gender will always apply to what has been manifested. The human body is designed in a gender principle biology. There is no way to change the law of gender inside a human body. Although it can be distorted through misinterpretation, such as believing that gender is to be equated with the common understanding of sexuality and sexual preferences. Every aspect of existence operates within the fundamental gender principle of creation. Both masculine and feminine principles generate the metaphysical energies crucial for creation and regeneration. Without this law, manifestation is impossible. In every facet of life, across all dimensional realms, consciousness, and creation, the presence of masculine and feminine principles are intrinsic. The law of gender reveals itself as an undeniable truth across all existence. Although the law of gender and the law of polarity are intimately intertwined, it's important to realize that either gender contains both polarities simultaneously. Both polarities are equally powerful, yet equally limited while separated. As we bring energetic synthesis between the gender principles, we also synthesize the forces of polarity present into neutrality, complete power. And this is the evolutionary journey of the ascension process that merges our physical self with our spiritual bodies and ultimately God, source. The Merkaba star, also known as the Star of David, is a symbol code called upon to support the path of energetic synthesis, to bring unity within the light body. The Star of David represents the unity between male and female. The geometry directs the masculine and feminine energies that exist within every human being. All humans are intrinsically made up of masculine and feminine energy, which are designed to come into a sacred union in order to communicate with the highest self, the inner Christos Sophia light. The main circuitry of the magnetic pole positions are held in the horizontal plane of the light body architecture, in the heart and the sacral centers, which governs the movement of consciousness energy through the light body via the meridians, axiotonal lines, dimensional spheres, and the chakras. Once we unify the horizontal and vertical planes of polarity within the gender principle of our light body, we develop the neutral point in all energy centers, merging gender principles which manifests as an eternal life body, or the diamond sun crystalla orb body. In order to connect with the power of the divine, we must first embrace all that is, because that is divine's authentic truth. You cannot unconditionally love God if you cannot first love yourself, and the full spectrum of all that is, within and without you, the masculine and the feminine, the light and the dark. You must accept infinite potential and limitations all the same. You must embrace similarities and differences with open arms. That is consciousness, and that is love. And that is a spiritually sovereign being in service to all. Lastly, I want to call attention back to Mars and Venus and reflect on their recent past and journey ahead in this cosmic tale being told. In astrology, Mars rules over the sign Aries and co-rules Scorpio, and Venus rules over the signs Taurus and Libra. These two planets have been playing big roles in our collective psyche, especially so in recent years. Since July of 2023, Mars has been the planetary ruler of the North Node in Aries, and Venus the ruler of the South Node in Libra, which will continue to be the case until January 11th of 2025. The transiting lunar nodes are considered significant points that hold symbolic meaning and influence over the collective spiritual journey, karmic lessons, and destiny, hence their involvement with the eclipse cycles. Overall, they help us to align with our soul's purpose and evolve our lives towards greater fulfillment and enlightenment. The transiting South Node tells us where we as a collective need to confront and release old patterns, attachments, or limitations that are holding us back from our growth and evolution. In the sign Libra, it's speaking of people-pleasing behaviors, aka the fawn response. It wants us to release toxic relationships, outdated patterns, as well as balance out the dynamics of our relationships, detach from codependency, nurture our relationship with ourselves, and is encouraging the responsibility of self-care. With the North Node in Aries, there's a call for embracing new beginnings, personal development, and standing up for oneself. Collective energies may lean towards asserting individual rights and advocating for personal freedom. It's an energy that prompts the collective's journey towards self-discovery, authenticity, empowerment, and the courage to pursue one's path with vigor and determination. Another big indication of the universe urging us to heal toxic masculinity is the fact that Chiron, the asteroid known as the Wounded Healer, has also been in Aries since April of 2018 and will continue his stay until June 19th of 2026, spending a significantly longer time in this sign than most. Chiron even formed an exact to-the-minute conjunction with both the sun and the moon during the Aries April 8th total solar eclipse, which is historically unfounded. Not only that, but at the end of the month, Mars himself will confront Chiron head-to-head in his own sign. Truly a place for profound healing to occur at the very root of the issue. Now let me briefly explain what the heck a Cazimi is, because this aspect comes up a lot in this story. A Cazimi occurs when a planet forms an exact conjunction with the sun. When this happens, it's like the sun recharges the planet and is reborn into a new cycle that's encapsulated by the energy of the sign it Cazimi'd in. Back on November 17th of 2023, Mars finished up his Cazimi cycle that began in the sign of Libra. And to be perfectly frank, having the god of war in Libran energy is like passive-aggressive mean girl vibes. But undoubtedly, the point was made. Now he's relatively fresh in his new current synodic cycle in the sign Scorpio, where he'll be hard at work carrying this intense energy with him until January of 2026. Now he's actually serious about balancing out the tipping scales, forced to confront the pain and shine light deep into the darkness, to uncover the uncomfortable truths for the purpose of healing, regeneration, and evolution. And like I said, Mars co-rules the sign Scorpio, and under this influence, he's intimate and psychically in tune. See, Scorpio is burdened by the power to see through deception. Another hard truth that it bears is the fact that destruction always comes before renewal. So, despite Mars being instinctual action, his association to Scorpio gives him the ability to formulate a strategic approach. So, in that sense, it's constructive demolition. But Mars is our warrior energy after all, and Mars in the sign of Scorpio wants to finish the fight, but Mars in the sign of Aries wants to start the fight. And like I mentioned before, guess who's now in Aries? That's right. So now is the time. We need to finally realize what's actually worth fighting for. But it seems Venus and Mars have been in cahoots with each other, focused on the future while healing the past, transforming humanity as we know it. Because even though they only meet in the sky roughly every 3 years, earlier this year in February, they conjoined in the futuristic sign of Aquarius, next to Pluto, Scorpio's modern ruler, further indicating deep transformation is at work in regards to uniting the divine masculine and feminine counterparts. And the story continues in May as both planets travel through their area of expertise, individually making big moves for energetic upgrades. And May 18th is a very special day for that indeed. How exciting is this? Wait for it. While Mars is knocking on the door of fate to meet with the North Node in Aries, Venus will be in Taurus, meeting up with Uranus, the Awakener, while getting illuminated by the nearby Sun with Jupiter in a Cazimi, as he's getting rejuvenated and ready to party with her at the final degree of Taurus on May 23rd. While in a sextile with his fellow co-ruler Neptune at home in Pisces, her domain of exaltation. Now, what's even more fun than the two most benefic planets in the sky conjunct in the most dreamy, supportive aspect is it's happening during Jupiter's very own Sagittarius full moon debut, making it the ideal day for a culmination of truth, justice, beauty, and prosperity for the good of all involved. How beautifully divine is that? I'm telling you, this month is the very quantum leap we need to get us on track to a new and better reality. So how can we tap into this cosmic synergy for our personal growth and ascension? By connecting with the cosmos and tuning into the energies of Mars and Venus, we can cultivate the right expression of these energies within ourselves. During this time, meditate under the starlight sky, allowing the cosmic energy to flow through you. Feel the fiery passion of Mars igniting your soul, empowering you to pursue your dreams with unwavering determination. And as Venus dances through Taurus, embrace the earthy sensuality of the moment. Ground yourself in nature, indulge in self-care rituals, and nurture your relationships with love and compassion. Remember, we're not just spectators in this celestial symphony. We're active participants co-creating our reality with the universe. By embodying the balance of divine masculine and feminine energies, we pave the way for our own growth and ascension, as well as set the example for others to tune in. So say it with me. I am balanced, united, and in divine alignment. So it is with infinite love and gratitude. Check back soon for a Reiki healing that will connect with the cosmos and facilitate the balancing and integration of these energies. But in the meantime, I hope this cosmic exploration gave you something to contemplate and helped guide you on your path to enlightenment. So until next time, shine bright, star siblings.